So I've been working on our next Unified 2 firmware release, which is based on the latest Marlin 2.1.2.4. That's a mouthful version. So we've been adding in some new features that came out in that release and stuff that we haven't found worked well in the previous one that is working now in the current one. So let me show you this. I got this on our SV06 here, and we're testing it to make sure it works before we launch it. So some little quality of life improvements. If you notice here, the hot end will actually show a progress bar. So if I go ahead and tell it to go to a higher temperature, so let's go ahead to preheat ABS, you'll see the icons have progress bars now. So that includes the bed and the hot end. We got a new fan icon here, which is just a little nice touch. I think it looks cooler. I don't know, let me know if it does or not. And then we also have a nicer animation for the fan when the fan's running. So you can see there, got the fan running. If you notice, every time I press the screen, you actually get an audible, nice confirmation beep. We adjusted the time and the frequency. And now when you adjust the feed rate, you get a little chirp letting you know that it's actually adjusting the feed rate, which is nice because sometimes you'll bump the printer and you didn't realize you adjusted it, so you get audible feedback for that. Now on this machine, we have one of our Easy ABL sensors on here, and this will work with any printer running our firmware that has a bed leveling sensor of some kind, whether it came with it, a BL Touch, CR Touch, Easy ABL. But we have what's called our new Easy Offset Wizard. So if we go into configuration here, you have the Easy Offset Wizard. So when you press this, the printer will home. And it'll say click to begin. Now I recommend doing this with the bed and the hot end at temp because I'm going to show you what this does. So we click to begin, it moves the sensor over, and then you can put a piece of paper under here and adjust the offset. Now not only is this going to set your offset, so I can go ahead and move this down until we're grabbing the paper here. Got a little bit of drag there, go up a little bit. Now I've already set it on this printer, so my value should be pretty close to 0. Go back here, go to done, and I'm going to repeat this 2 more times. Go ahead and move this down again. Kind of hard to do with only one hand. But I'm getting some drag on the paper. And the reason I recommend doing this with the nozzle and the bed hot is because you want to be able to feel the nozzle touching the paper and not actually the filament if you have filament on your nozzle. So anyways, you go through these adjustments and it's a lot easier with 2 hands. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm happy with that one. It's just barely grabbing the paper. I'm going to go to the next one, and if you have your layer fan on, it blows the paper away when it moves. So I'm going to do the next one here. It's a little too tight. I'm going to come up a little bit. Right there is pretty good. So I'm going to take the paper out, hit done, and now it asks me, do you want to update your probe offset? I'm going to tell it yes. And that's it. So now the cool thing about this is what that just did is not only did it set your offset to a very, very, very good value, meaning once I run a print on here, the first layer is going to be bang on. This also compensated for the gantry being twisted. So we're actually leveraging on the back end Marlin's X-Twist compensation code to not only set the offset for you, but also to compensate for your printer if it's got twist in the X gantry. And on this actual printer, this printer needs to run some compensation for the X twist because the gantry, and it's very common on these i3 style and Prusa style printers, that the gantry can have some twist. So what happens is if I don't run any sort of X twist compensation on here, the one side will be lower than the other regardless if the printer frame is square and everything else is physically built well. I've gone over this whole machine, but this is going to be available in the new release for every single printer that we support with our firmware. Now, in addition to all those other cool features, we also have enabled stuck end stop detection. So if one of your switches on your X or Y or your Z, if you're using a printer that doesn't have a bed probe. It'll also warn you and refuse to home if the end stop is stuck in the on position, so that way you can go and fix it. In addition to that, if anybody has had these screens, especially on some of the Creality boards and the Big Tree Tech boards, where it acts like the button's being pressed over and over and over again because it's picking up noise, we do have a hardware fix for that, but there's also an option in the firmware that will try to filter out that noise, and that's kind of one of the extra features that we put in there, and you can turn that on by putting a line of code into the configuration file. And I literally just mean it's like define end stop noise filter. We have it documented. So, but I just want to post this little teaser. We're going to continue testing this for a little bit longer just to make sure everything's good. But so far we've got like 30 plus prints. We've got almost 100 hours of testing already on actual printers, this one and 2 other machines, and we're updating the rest of our fleet to this new build before we release it. So sorry about the longer TikTok, but I just figured it was worth making a video because I'm really excited about this new firmware release.